Deploying any project in the production shouldn't be that much scary, which is right now. Hey there everyone, my name is Hitesh and welcome to this fresh new playlist. I call it as Deploy. This is really the series that I've been waiting for, and I'm pretty sure many of you have been waiting for as well. The whole goal of this series is to make sure that people are not afraid of putting things into production. I know a lot of time people are scared of these classic cloud provider stories that, hey, this was charged with blatant amount and all of this. I want to make sure that you taste the flavor of putting things into the production into a fairly secure environment, as well as no issues and worries about the bill. My goal with this series is by the end of this series, you should be able to say that, hey, it's not that difficult and probably I can also do it. The whole idea with this deploy series is whether you are building application with Node.js, with Python, or with Java, or with any other tech stack, you should be fairly comfortable in putting things into production, and with the probable cost that you don't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars. Putting things into production is really fun, and this video is going to walk you through entirely on that. And by means of this video, this entire playlist. We'll be having a couple of parts in this playlist, and we'll be deploying multiple of the applications onto the production. And this is going to require to spin up a servers, couple of SSLs and web servers and Nginx and whatnot. A lot of things is going to be covered in this one, and I'm pretty sure you're going to absolutely love this one. In this series, there's going to be some cost involvement. I'll walk you through with that. If you just want to watch it, that's also great. If you want to work along with me, I'll notify you where the things are going to cost you a small bit of money, but it's going to be all under control. We'll be majorly using VPSs so that we are in charge and full control of how much we are paying for that. And apart from this, deploying these SSL, HTTPS, deploying your databases, this is all manageable. It's not that bad that it seems like it looks from the outside. So I'm pretty sure that you're excited with this series, Deploy, and I'll walk you through what are the stuff required and how you can get started with that. But if in case you are new here, go ahead, subscribe to my channel. In case you're watching it at some other place, then go ahead and search me up, Hitesh Chaudhary, and just go ahead and subscribe this channel. We are probably going to be hitting 1 million subscribers soon, and I'm pretty sure this series is going to add enough value in your day-to-day life to have the production grade values. So let's go ahead and get started. I hope you have hit that subscribe, and let me know in the comment section that do you need more such series which actually teaches you the production grade stuff, or you want something else. Let me know in the comments. 1 comment is required. We are expecting 100 comments on this channel, at least on this video. So let me first share the screen with you and walk you through with what we are planning to do and how we are going to execute this. The step 1 is to find out a VPS, which VPS is a simple way of saying that, hey, we want a computer which can be provided by somebody. We don't want to utilize our own computing resource because I cannot keep my machine up all the time. For this special thing, there are data centers available, and these data centers provides you these virtual machines which you can just deploy, configure it properly, and keep it running probably forever. And for this, we'll be using that. And yes, by the way, there are also cloud providers like AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure as well. But these clouds actually charge you based on the traffic, how much traffics are there. And there is so much of more configurations and knowledge required for doing that. We are not going that path. We are going with the VPS part, where we are full in charge of how much we are paying monthly, and exactly that amount of money will be paid. And since this series is not sponsored by any of these providers which I'm going to discuss, I'll talk a lot about them. So if I just search for VPS provider, you can see there's a Vultr, there is a DigitalOcean, there is Hostinger, there is GoDaddy, I guess, there is Amazon, and probably there are a few others as well. There's Linode, there's even IBM, so you can use any one of them. Now, I cannot show you the whole process on each and every VPS, but they are pretty much all the same. So in this case, I'll be using this Linode, which is now powered by Akamai. I found it pretty useful. We have tried and tested it out. It works nicely. So I'll be using this one for the entire series, but I'll walk you through with others as well. For almost all of them, you're going to see many of these services being provided, like volumes, load balancer, VPCs, and all of this. We just need a basic virtual machine. Just spin it off, and we want to have a computer. In that computer, we will install few softwares, deploy our applications, and we want to make it always up and running. That's the whole idea. That's the whole goal. So as you can see, I have this public address, and this is the machine that is running up. There is no big deal of exposing your public addresses, but I really don't like. So by the time you'll be watching this video, this will be entirely gone. But this is something where it is going to be masked by a domain name. So you don't reach out to these machines with these names. You reach out to your machines via your name. So if I go ahead and just work with the Excalidraw, so let's go up here. So this is how it looks like. So first of all, you go ahead and simply work with something like website.com. If I can just expand this, that would be good. Oh, I can write it better. I can just go ahead and say website.com. So whatever is your website.com, we know the websites via this way, but computers don't know this stuff. So they always provide you something like the IPs like this. So what we do is we have something in between known as DNS. So first of all, this is your IP address. And let's just go ahead and say this is my IP address. So I'll just call this one as IP. So the first step always is to go ahead and look for something known as DNS, a domain name system. So whenever you write anything in your browser, it goes ahead and make a query to this DNS system, a domain name system that, hey, I don't know what this name is. Can you give me back what's going to be the IP address? And in result, it responds with the IP address that, hey, you go ahead and look out for this particular IP address. And then finally, through the network hopping, through your routers and whatnot, all these routing, finally, you go ahead and reach out and decode this IP address and you make a connection on that, or you make a web request on that. It might be a GET request, you might be sending some data and whatever you want to do. So this is how it's being done, the basics of the DNS system. Now we will go ahead and spin up these systems freshly from the start. This one, I'll just keep on running. I was doing some tests before recording this video. This spinning up does cost money, not insane amount of money, but sometimes $4, $5 a month. So you can test out a lot within a month and can learn a lot. This is the pricing I cannot control. It requires that kind of a stuff, but a lot you can do on your own system as well. Similarly, we have DigitalOcean as well. I just happen to choose Linode. It's no big deal. DigitalOcean, Linode, they are equally good. I use a lot of them. In fact, both of them actually. So you can just go ahead and click on the droplet here and just click on create droplet and you'll see the $4 per month. I can just click on this droplet and it's going to show me the pricing and options where you want to spin up because it's a virtual machine being spinned up. So for me, the nearest one is Bangalore. For you, it might be New York, San Francisco, wherever that is. And you can just go ahead and choose what operating system you want to install on that machine. The steps are exactly same. We'll be doing that one very soon on the Linode as well. But I just wanted to show you that how it works. Ubuntu, Fedora, we'll be majorly choosing Ubuntu, but feel free to choose Fedora in case you're comfortable there. And then shared machines or dedicated machines based on how much you want to pay. You can pay $32 per month, but you get good resources. You get around 4 GB, 2 Intel CPUs, 120 GB, 4 TB of transfer. Pretty good deal actually. But if you want to go with the regular, you can go ahead and choose the absolute bare minimum $4. But for that, you have to go, I guess you cannot choose $4. Can you choose? Anyways, you can go with the, this is not available in the data center. I have to change the data center here. Probably it's available in, I'm pretty sure it's available in SF. So you can go ahead and choose that and yep, it's available there. But it's going to cause me latency issues because the server is far away. Whatever I'm deploying, it's not going to be usable for me. So this is one reason based on what you choose. If you want to choose more higher machines which have more power, you can use general purpose and can pay $63 to all the way up to $1260. But again, depends on what you want to do and how you want to serve. I think for most people, if you're choosing DigitalOcean, $6 machine should be fine enough in learning the things. And even $4 latency, but it should be fine enough to have this one. And then we'll talk about these SSH keys and all these things in a while. We have a detailed documentation for it. I'll walk you through. They call it as Droplet, DigitalOcean, just like that. But will not go with that. We'll just close this one. Now, in case you're wondering, if you are a pro in AWS, AWS also offers services like this known as Light Sale. And they are not based on how much compute resources you're using. They are fixed price machines. So bundles with public IP address, and you can see $5 a month fixed pricing. So 5.5 GB, 512 MB of RAMs. Really not that great, but yeah, it does the job. 2 virtual CPUs, 20 GB, 1 TB of transfer. I think pretty good resource. $7, you get decent. And what I would recommend, if you just get a $24 per month, you can do so much on it. Even you can put databases, a whole lot of transfers. I think that's a crazy deal. And similar deal you can find in this one as well. Now, once you have these machines, what I discussed about this, all you got to do is put up a record of IP address. So there is something known as DNS records. And in this, you just have to say the A records. There are different types of records that you put in your website DNS so that it maps to your IP address. And we will learn about them as well. So I have a domain, True Feedback, which is just here for fun. We will be actually changing its DNS to, it's just really simple. I can just click on the DNS and just make it up and running. So by the time you'll be watching it, let's just go ahead and add a new record. I want to add an A record. You might want to add it on the main domain, but since it's for me a subdomain going to be there, so I'll just go ahead and call this one as the series name, deploy, and then just add the IP address. So go ahead and copy your IP address and come back here and paste it up here. TTL, time to live, how much time it should take to update this. I think half hour is good enough, but you can go ahead and do a custom one as well. Let's just say 4. No, it's not going to be 4. It needs to be 6. So I'll just go ahead and just say 800 and save this. That is it. It's going to take a little bit amount of time to propagate your DNS, but within just few minutes, it hardly takes minutes sometime. And that's it. You just save it. And that's it. You have deployed a machine and whose IP address is now on that. So told you, it's not really that difficult to work on with. Now, apart from this, in order to work with these virtual machines, I'll be using terminal. So the terminal of my choice is going to be Warp. I really like and I enjoy this. So Warp is available for Mac and Linux as of now, but its Windows version is about to drop any time now. So you can just go ahead and use it. I really like it because it's built on Rust, really good, nice, but feel free to use anything. I'll be using this one. Now, the advantage that I get with this one is I can just try to type in natural languages. It helps me to do what I want to do. It's kind of a true DevOps friendly kind of a thing. So I can just ask it that I want to secure my VPS. Help me with all steps. Now, right now, these steps are not going to make sense to you. There's a lot of steps that they are asking to do. It doesn't make sense right now, but as we go through in the series, all of these steps are going to make sense. And all you want somebody that, hey, just give me a brief idea and overview what I need to do. And I know these steps are absolutely same for every single time you're spinning up the VPS. So we'll go through with all of these details, what they are and how they're going through. Not only that, I have actually gone ahead and created a documentation for it so that you don't have to watch the videos again and again. I highly recommend to watch it, but just to make sure that you make it's easier for you, there's a DevOps stuff. And we'll be walking through with the server setup and hardening. This is our step 1. We'll be going through in the next video about that. All the details, all the steps are here, but there's some more, you can say, instructions are required on top of this that I'll be covering up. But I hope you get the idea that what we are about to get started on this one. So since we are already up here, let's go into the Linode. This machine is already up. Probably I'll remove it or delete it. But once you have created an account, it's a free account that you can go ahead and create it. Now let's go ahead and create a Linode. This is going to cost me some money, probably $4 or $5 a month. That's okay. It's a price that we have to pay to teach also. So make sure you hit that comment section as well. Now this is where you need to understand all the settings and what all you can do, not just in Linode, but in any VPS provider. These steps are just called differently, like they call it as nodes, linodes, and nanodes. DigitalOcean call them as droplets, but hey, the options are exactly same. So first step is always to choose your operating system. I'm going to go ahead and choose Ubuntu because that's what I like compared to this. But again, no big deal. Feel free to choose any one of them. Now here you can see the option of LTS. LTS stands for long-term support. This is the one you should be choosing because that's where the active support is being provided. But feel free to choose whatever you like, Slackware, if you like Kali, if you like Fedora, whichever you want. According to what you are selecting, the commands are going to change. Just like you want to use Linux in your day-to-day life, that's exactly where it's going to change. I'm going to go ahead and click on Ubuntu 24 LTS. Feel free to choose any one of them. No big deal. Now, after that, select the region that you want to go. I will be selecting something near me, and I think Mumbai is very near to me. I'll go ahead and select that one. After that, you have to select what kind of CPUs you want to use. Now, bandwidth is getting much less costly, but the compute is getting crazy high and crazy expensive. We'll not choose the dedicated one because it's $36 per month, although we can, but not for tutorial. I'll use the shared CPU, and I think I'll go again with the Nanode 1 GB of machine. Probably later on when we are spinning up more, I'll need a little bit of more compute power to spin up the database. Then I can choose this one, which has 2 GB of RAM, good enough. But as of now, I'll just choose the bare minimum basics. And you can go like GPUs as well, which are really, really costly, $1,000. And that's why there are high prices on ChatGPT and training models. But as of now, shared CPU, Nanode, 1 GB, $5 machine. Give me the basics. Now, after that, it says what should be the label of it. We're going to call this one as deploy dash series. This is my label for it. I can add the tag of learning to it. Feel free to use the tag or don't use tag, doesn't really matter. Now we have to use a password on this one. Now we'll walk through that how using the password or not using the password can actually do a lot of stuff. But as of now, we need some password. So I'm going to go ahead and say the password. We're going to use a password. Probably that's too weak. So I'll use a password. This one is good enough. Just make sure you use that. As of now, we are not adding any SSH key, but you can go ahead and add it right up here. We'll walk through with this later on. But yes, I'll walk you through how once the system is installed, how you can actually use your own existing SSH key and can work with that. Now, in case you have no idea about generating SSH key, you might have generated one when you were creating your account on GitHub. I do have a GitHub series as well, by the way, check that out. But in case you want a fresh start on that, we have a great documentation which provides you and work with that. I'll walk you through with the steps of that as well. But here are the official documentation guide. You can just look for it. And this is where they walk you through that how to create an SSH key, both on Windows and Mac. When the time will come, I'll walk you through what the details are. Right now, it's not required, so I'll just skip that part. And then the VPC. This is like an isolated environment, like your own network. We'll not talk about it, but sometimes it is required and it makes sense. In this case, no, it doesn't make sense for us. Firewall. This is really important. You can go ahead and configure your firewall. I have one web server being called up, but right now we'll not just inject any firewall. I'll walk you through with both the steps that how you can configure your firewall. Most of the providers provide you these firewalls directly from this admin panel, which is easier, click and done. But in some other cases, they actually provide you some utilities and softwares which you can install on the system and can configure your own firewall. I'll walk you through with both the steps as well. Then after that, we are not interested in VLANs or add user data. User data are scripts that you can run so that you don't have to configure these machines again and again. If you know you are deploying the very usual stuff which you have been deploying, you can add that, but not useful for us. But it's good to know about what they are doing. I'm not interested in backup or the private IP as of now. Probably that makes sense for you, but hey, we are again spinning up Nanode of 1 GB. So let's go ahead and create this one. This will be spinned up and we will be getting one public IP address and we will be able to get an SSH into this one. So the SSH commands and everything are given to me here, but this is right now says provisioning. It will be up and running very soon. I'll go into the Linodes and will show you that, hey, YT test, once the provisioning is all done, this is how it's going to look like. We can see we have the CPU matrices and all these things, what the traffic is going in, going out, all these details are here. Now, after that, you can see we have network, storage, configurations, whole lot of things. We're going to talk all about them. They are almost exactly same on all of the platforms, but yeah, knowing the basics about them is always a good idea. So I guess we will allow it to keep on spinning. It's booting up now 37%, good enough. It's pretty fast, you can see 49. And that's why we love to use Linode as well. But again, not sponsored, feel free to use whatever you like. So this is all what we have. And one recommendation that I would say that is go ahead and get yourself a VARP, because I'll tell you the reason. Not only this, because there are some utilities in this which actually helps us to learn a lot better. Right now, we are going to rename this tab. So I'm going to call this one as server. This is where I'll be working on the server. We'll be connecting with the server. I think having this kind of a thing is good. And this one will be calling it as local. I actually utilize this a lot like this, because sometimes even myself, I get confused that am I on the local machine or am I on the server? So it's important that you go ahead and do something like this in whatever the terminal you're using. I'll be using VARP. So this is my server where I'll be connecting through the server and will be interacting and doing all the stuff there. This is my local machine where anything that I need from my local copy of the machine, I'll be getting it from there. So this is it. This is our setup. And I hope you are pretty excited about this deploy series, because I am very much. In the upcoming videos, we'll be talking about Ngnix and deploying the node servers and a whole lot of details that are supposed to be there. That's it for this video. Hope you're excited. Let's go ahead and catch up in next video. All right. Hey there everyone, my name is Hitesh and welcome to the playlist of Deploy, where we are going to learn about the VPS and all the nuances of putting up your application in the production. It's a pretty fantastic series and welcome to the second video of it. Before doing anything else, it's important that you hit that subscribe button and I need motivation. So we are putting up a comment target as well. Just 150 comments within 24 hours. Let's see if we can achieve that. That's a good target to have. And if you don't know what to write in the comment section, just write looking forward for the next video or just thanks for this video. It would be really awesome. So let me walk you through what we're going to do in this video. The goal is really simple. We want to secure our VPS. In the last video, it's been a couple of days that I actually recorded that video. But in this one, we are going to just learn how we can secure our VPS, some common steps that we usually do, some of the optional steps that we do, and we'll walk you through with each and every guide. And don't worry, there is a written documentation for this as well. We'll be taking a little bit help from the AI as well, and we'll walk you through how you can learn about the AI steps and going through with that. So it's going to be fun. And I think this video is more than enough to secure your VPS, but security is always a cat and mouse game. So if there is anything more, do let me know in the comment section. So let's go up here. And yes, I'm sitting this time. Let me go on to the screen. So this is our IP addresses and this deploy series. It's been running for a couple of days now. I actually left my studio. But the step one is I now want to secure my VPS. So how can I do this? The best way is to just ask the terminal that, hey, I want to secure my VPS. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask it directly that I want to secure my new VPS. Help me with all the steps. And I'm pretty sure that it's going to help me with the steps. This is where I like about the whole thing that can be done, that what all can be done. We'll be going through with this. I'll walk you through that what steps are important and how it's almost equally same for any VPS that you are spinning up. We'll walk you through with each of the guide. So let's first understand that what this guide is and how it actually says. The first one, it says update your system. Pretty good step. We'll walk through with this one. Then it says create a new user, avoid using the root user for the daily task. It's a pretty good advice that in any VPS, it's recommended that you don't do the task with root user. In fact, it is recommended that you disable the root login altogether itself. Then it says set up an SSH connection. That's cool. We will set up our SSH connections as well in this video. I'll walk you through how it can be done. If you've already gone through with my GitHub series or Git series, we've already set up our Git, but I'll walk you through how this actually works and how you can enjoy that part as well. Configure the firewall. This is where a lot of optional steps comes up. Some people like to use UFW, which is a firewall as a package that you can install in your system. Some people like to do this from their admin panel of their service provider. In my case, it's Linode, but you can use DigitalOcean or any other. And then disable the root login, prevent root login, harden the network layer security, set the security of the systems, and I'll walk you through with this part as well. And install security tools like fail to ban, can protect against brute force act. So there's a lot of steps that are involved. I'll walk you through with some of them and rest of them we can walk together or you can just follow along. So the first one is sudo apt get update and apt update. So just go ahead and update the studio, but this is not all it. We need to walk through with a couple of steps before going through. So I'll open up my deploy series where I did a spelling mistake of calling it as simply deploy with a, instead of Y, it's an E. So hope you excuse me for that. Now here we can see there are a couple of options given to me, some of the public addresses, some of the SSH access and LISH access. Each and every provider these days provides you these browser-based login panels so that in case you forget your SSH password or something, you can just do it directly. But not only that, if you go into the settings, the interface might look a little bit different in Linode and DigitalOcean and AWS, but it's kind of the same. Here you can just go ahead and set the password. Now here's a fun thing about this one, the new root password. So in case you have even disabled or have forgotten your root password, you can still actually reset it from here. This is magic known as hypervisor magic. So there is an additional layer of your outside of your virtual machine which can actually still penetrate only through this panel and can actually reset your password status of this machine. This is perfectly secure. It's a really nice mechanism, but you can do that. There are threshold notification as well, that if your CPU usage spikes up or something, you can just monitor all of that. Not only that, you'll notice here that the analytics are there, which tells you how much is the usage, network usage. There's also a network going on that from where the traffic is incoming, where it is allowed, where it is not allowed. So you can monitor all of that. And right now there is no firewall assigned, but I'll walk you through that how you can actually assign a firewall as well. The storage is storage, how much disk you want. You can actually create a volume. Of course, it's going to be chargeable, but you can add additional space. The configuration is also there. Hey, pretty standard stuff. You can boot, reboot, all these things. So one thing which is highly recommend that if you want to reboot your machine, try to do this from this panel instead of the machine. It's actually 100% guarantee that this machine is going to reboot from here. From there, sometimes it's tricky to actually work with that. So this is all the things that you really want to know. Apart from this, on the right hand side panel, you're going to see a firewall tab here as well. We want to go into the firewall tab and we can set up firewalls as well about what's incoming traffic, on what port we are allowing, on what port we are not allowing. This is the basics. Now let's go back onto the node, deploy ECDs. I want to connect with this machine first. That's my step one. How can I do this? It's pretty easy. You can just go ahead and say that, hey, I want to log in with the root on this machine. So go ahead and just copy this. And now you have to remember your password, which I'm not sure that I do remember, but I'll still try. All right, so let's go up here. And what I'll do is I'll open up a new tab and I'm going to go ahead and rename this with a red color. And this one is going to be renamed as going to be a server, so that I know 100% of the time that when I'm on this tab, I'm actually in the server, not on my local machine. Let's go ahead and try this out. Let's go ahead and log in. So this is going to be a simple SSH root and the IP of your machine. Go ahead and hit the enter. This is something that you'll see only the first time. This is actually storing your fingerprint of your machine, of your connection into that remote machine, so that they know that, hey, this is a reliable machine and they are trying to log in, it's okay. So you want to really store this. You just want to say yes. So we're going to go ahead and say yes, go ahead and do that. Now it is asking me for the password. I'm not sure that I remember the password, but I'll still try it. If I remember, and by the time you're typing, it's not going to show on the terminal. I'll try, and yes, I remember it. That's a good thing. Now notice here the terminal says root@localhost. Localhost simply means you are on the server, you are on the machine. You can see this is Ubuntu, all the basic messages and all these things are there. This is our local tab. So we're going to go ahead and right click and put up a green box here, and we'll say that, hey, we want to rename this. We're going to do this is my local. So this is a clear distinction between when I'm actually in the server, when I'm in the local. So this is a good stuff. You should also do this. I highly recommend you to do so. Now we are into this machine. Now what to do next? I don't know. I don't know these steps. Definitely your AI can actually help you. Even you can run your AI here as well, and it's going to give you all these commands. You can inject this, but there is even a better version, at least for the learning purpose. Once you learn it, you can just kind of fly through it. So I'm going to go on to docs.chicode.com. This is where I'm keeping all the documentation. Just click on the checkout docs, and in the DevOps stuff, you're going to find server setup and hardening. Yeah, this is the new documentation that we have written, and we can just go through this. This whole stuff, we have already done it. No need to do this. This operating system stuff, we have already done it. No need to worry about that. In case you want to read it, I highly recommend you to do so. Now, this is the part which we have already done about the SSH of the routing. The next step is apt update and app upgrade. You first want to do update and then the upgrade. Update actually updates all of your new packages. So if there is an upgrade required, you do that as a secondary step, and then you again do the update. So we're going to go ahead and just copy this, and we'll try to do this one by one. Let's go up here. Let's go ahead. I'm into the root machine. I'll go ahead and hit the update. It shouldn't take much of the time because server to server speed is usually very high. All right, so looks good. Now we can go ahead and try the upgrade. So in case there are some crucial upgrades are required, we can just go ahead and try that. Shouldn't be that much, but I'll still go ahead and try that. Now what you're going to notice that this is making my machine all updated and upgraded with the packages. Even in this step, sometimes it does the kernel upgrade as well. Rarely, but it does it sometimes. You want to say yes. So all the kernel patches or kernel level patches, they also comes up into this page. This is the one. So upgrade. This is the one you want to do. Now it should be all good within a few seconds or minutes. There we go. Now, once it's all done, then again, as a safety step, you want to run the update one more time. Yes, this is the step. You don't run upgrade first. You go ahead and upgrade it first and then run it again. Now, once I go ahead and do this, you'll notice that not much of the things, everything is update. So that's it. The first step is done. So as suggested by our AI, the step one is to update your system. So all done, all good. Now it's asking that, hey, create a new user and avoid using the root user for that. So we have got a couple of steps in between before that. Sometimes you might want to change your password. So in order to change the password, all you have to do is run this command, passwd. You're already logged in as a root user. So this server, you're already logged in as a root user. So all you need to do is run the command passwd. This is going to ask you to, hey, put in the new password and then again hit enter, put in the new password, and that way you can change your password. This is an optional step. I don't want to change my password as of now. It's good enough. Now the next step, same step, add non-root user as suggested by the AI as well. We'll be going it, and we'll also add it to the sudoers group. Now what is this? So what happens in the Linux is there are lots of group users, and certain group have certain permission to perform the actions. Root has the permission of doing pretty much everything and anything that they want, but it's a very high privileged permissions. So you don't want to run this command to do anything. Instead of that, you might want to create a fresh user and allocate it into the group so that whenever needed, he can run those commands with the higher privileged permissions. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to just go ahead and add this. And for adding this, I highly recommend to use this command. You're going to find a couple of more commands instead of this, but the advantage of this command is it not only creates a specific user, but it actually creates some of the directories and allocates a shell which are required for this one. So it's a better one. All I'm going to say is let's go ahead and just paste this one and hit enter. Now this is going to go ahead and create, oh my bad, it actually created a user with the name of username. I should have done that, but we can delete that. I'm going to go ahead and create a user with the name of Hitesh. So it's actually going to create two users. We can ignore the username. We can remove the users as well. But I'm going to go ahead and just create a new user with the name of Hitesh. Now, when we check this groups command with the username, again, by the way, you can just go ahead and run groups. And if I go ahead and check Hitesh, it's going to show you that, hey, what group Hitesh belongs to. Every user belongs to their own group, which in this case is Hitesh. Hitesh has its own group, but it also needs to be a part of the sudo group so that it can run the higher escalate and privileged commands there. So for this, another command is this one. So you can just go ahead and just click on this one, copy this, and this is the command we need. We need to change the username. So instead of the username, we are going to go ahead and say Hitesh so that it adds the Hitesh user, add that into the sudo group, which is a group by default in the Linux. So if I go ahead and hit enter, that's it, it does it. When I check it, groups Hitesh. Now Hitesh is a part of the group Hitesh as well as sudo. So I can assume the sudo super user permissions and can run a few commands and do following activities, whichever I need. Now, we have created the user, but we haven't set up the password for this user. So if we want to log in with this user, perform any activity, there is no password that is there. And we can use the same password for this one, which is sudo. This is the escalated permission, and then passwd for whatever the username we are trying for that. Let's go ahead and try this out. Pretty simple command. We just need to do sudo for escalated permission and then simple passwd. After that, we simply go ahead and provide the username. In this case, I want to add a password for the Hitesh. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And now I'm going to go ahead and say, what should I say? All right, hopefully I'll remember the password. Let's retype this. And yep, password updated successfully. So we have created a new user, a fresh new user, and now we can run whatever we want with this username. So let's go ahead and try this. So how do we exit from this machine? So we are connected with the machine. All we got to do is hit the exit, and that's it. Now your connection is being terminated on that machine. So pretty good stuff. Now we want to reconnect with that machine. So the command is going to be exactly same. If you just hover this up, this is exactly the same command. Oops. This is exactly the same command, but this time we don't want to log in with the root user. We want to log in with Hitesh. So in this case, you can see the username. So you can just go ahead and work with that. I'll just go ahead and move up here, and I'll say this time, let's log in with the Hitesh. You do an SSH into it. There we go. It's asking for my password. Don't add the root password, just the password that you just created. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and enter the password if I remember. Just give me a second. Hopefully I remember it. All right. So now we are on to the machine. We are still connected on the machine, but this time we are connected with a different user, which is comparatively much more safer. So there we go. Create a new user, avoid using the SSH root. So all good. Now set an SSH authentication using SSH keys. So far what we are noticing here, every single time I'm trying to log in, I'm just logging with my password, which is not really a good thing to do. It is considered as bad practice, but we can actually go ahead and deal with that. So the next step is connect to the server using the SSH. So for this, I have actually recommended you to go with the official documentation of how you can actually generate your SSH keys. The SSH keys are like public-private key network. So the public key is known to anyone. You can just share it to anyone, no big deal there. But the most important part is the private key. You don't share with the private key with anyone. This is how you generate the public key and the private key. The link is there and you can generate on Linux, Mac, Windows. All the documentation steps are there. If you have generated any key for GitHub or anything, that's exactly the same. You can generate a new one or you can just use any one of them for this tutorial at least. So this is all what we have to do, all the steps. So the steps are mentioned here as well. So SSH keygen is the generator of the key. Then we provide the option for using the algorithm that we want. And we want to actually cast it or with the type name of whatever the email you're using. This email is usually not being used, but it's a good sign that, hey, I know this one, this SSH key is mine. And to view the public key, all you got to do is run this command cat and then in the tilde, in the home directory, .ssh is the folder, and if you do an ls here, you'll find all of your public keys up here. Anything that's inside the .pub, this is the public key and these are shareable. Anything which doesn't have these .pub at the end, that means they are your private key. I can just show you that as well. If I go back up here and I can go into the local and I can go into the cd and then I can say tilde /.ssh, and if I go ahead and nope, I want to cancel it. So Control C. All right. So, oh, I want to run this. So enter this. All right. So, what happened just there? Oh, I am into the directory. Am I? So I need to just check pwd. Yep, I am into present working directory is good. I can just do a quick ls and I can share all these files. So all the files that you see, something here, this is ID ed25519. This is my private key. I shouldn't be sharing that. This is the one which is my public key and I can share this one. Same for this one, ID RSA. This is my private key and this one is my public key. I shouldn't be sharing that. So this is the difference between them. So I'll be opening up this file and I'll show you that how you can actually add the SSH keys into your file. By the way, if you remember, when we actually created this machine, it was an option given to us that, hey, you can add your SSH key. We could have given it directly from there. That was an easy step, a nice way to do it. But since we didn't learn it from there, we'll be just going with the different approach. I'll go up here and I'll say, hey, this is the one. And now we need to go inside the machine and have to open this particular directory and have to paste our keys there. Let's go ahead and do that. Now we know which file to look up for, so we can just go ahead and do the cat on this one. So I'll just go ahead and first do this. So this is the machine, the pub one, which I want to do. So I'll just go ahead and say cat, and then I'll say ID underscore, and this is the pub file that I want to do. And I'll do a cat so that it just shows me. If I go ahead and open this up, this is my whole key. So you just want to copy this whole thing up here. So everything and anything that is written up there, I can just right click and copy this. That's what I need. Now I'll go inside the server. I'm still connected with the server. Now I need to go ahead and just copy this command and have to open this file. Usually this file doesn't exist. You have to actually create this for the very first time. Let me show you that as well. So if I go ahead and walk into the tilde /.ssh, the directory should be there. If I go ahead and do a cd and now cd and tilde /.ssh, I guess even the SSH file doesn't exist or the directory doesn't exist. No big deal. We can just go ahead and copy this and it will just create everything for us. So I'll just go ahead and enter this. This is going to open up a nano editor and all I have to do is paste my keys into it. So I'll just go ahead and copy this, go back up here, and I'll just go ahead and paste it up here. So I'll just go ahead and paste it. This is the whole thing that is being pasted. So if I just go ahead and scroll this a little bit, Vim would have been nicer, but hey, this is all good. It can does the magic for us. Now I have to write this. So use the Control O option to write it out. So I'm going to go ahead and say Control O. This is going to help me to write this file into the same directory. Yes, I want to do this exactly. I'll just go ahead and hit an enter, and it says no such file or directory exists. Yes, but we want to actually go ahead and create this. Let me check this. So seems like the directory or the file doesn't exist, and this one is refusing to actually create it automatically for me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control X to exit this. Want to modify? No, I just want to save it. So this is the whole thing. You need to also see that sometime it doesn't exist, and this is how you have to figure out. So I'm going to go ahead and do an ls. There's nothing inside this. I'm going to check the present working directory. So there's nothing inside it. So what I'm going to do is I'll create these directories. So I'm going to go ahead and say mkdir where I want to create this. Inside the tilde, there should be a slash and then .ssh. This is where I want to create a directory. Now I should be technically have this one, so ls-la to actually see where the files are, and I can see that yes, there is a .ssh file is there. Now I can go ahead and create a new directory. So I'm going to go ahead into .ssh, and if I do an ls, there is nothing. If I can do an ls, ls-la, there is nothing inside it. I can now go ahead and create a new file with the help of touch command, which is used to create this. The directory or the file that I want to create is this authorized keys. So this is what I want to do. Go ahead and just create this one. There is no extension required for this one, authorized keys. Now I can use nano and can open this one. So I'll just go ahead and use a nano and authorized keys, and I'll open this one. And yes, nano authorized keys. Nano. Yes, I mean to say nano. I mistyped it. So I'm going to go ahead and say nano and authorized keys. And there we go. Finally, we have opened this up. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this. And that's it. Now I can write this out. So Control O, and yep, save it. And now I can go ahead and write it out and save it. So Control X should be all good. So now the file is technically saved. Can I do an ls? Yes, authorized keys are there. Now what is expected that next time when I go ahead and just use this, I need to first also add this to my utility. So there is also a command of paste it into public key, but also add it to the SSH utility. So SSH, all this. And this is the command that is supposed to be run from your local machine, not from your remote machine. So in case you have newly generated this keys for your machine, go ahead and add this. Mine is already added, so I don't need to do this. So you go ahead and check this. Now what advantage this gives us, in theory at least, is I can just go ahead and exit this and can log in into this machine without the password, because this user Hitesh knows that there is a SSH key which is linked to my private key in my machine, and I can go ahead and log in. Let's try this out. If it works, if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. I'll go ahead and hit an exit. So there we go. Now we are exited. Now let me just try with the Hitesh, and there we go. If I go ahead and try Hitesh, now notice here, it's still asking me for the password. Shouldn't be asking me for the password. Let me go ahead and try this. All right. So in theory, it shouldn't be asking me for the password. Probably permission denied. All right. So let me just quickly check what's happening. So it seems like that my utility that I opened it up was newly created, and I don't have it saved in my SSH connection. So I'll just go ahead and add this one here. So this one looks like that it's not being added. So we'll just go back into the docs and we'll add this one here, copy this, and we'll just paste it up. And hopefully this is going to get added to the SSH utility, identity added. Let's go ahead and try this out, but we need to actually reload the shell sometime. Let's see if it works directly, because sometimes the shell reload is required. I guess we need to open up a new prompt and get started with there. So I'm going to just go ahead and close this one. I'll just start a new one, because when you freshly load a shell, it loads all of your environment variable keys and all these configurations. So we'll just go back and we'll just copy the login links. So we'll just go ahead and say, this is the one Linode we need, this series, copy this, go back up here, paste this, and this time we're going to go ahead and remove this, and we'll try it again. And there we go. This time it didn't require any password. So you saw the errors. I really want you to see those errors, that what goes wrong, what goes right. So this time we saw that the error was pretty simple. I didn't added this into my private keys, the SSH add command. So you got the answer, and now we can go with that. All right, so one problem is solved, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this tab, or at least give it a red color so that it's good for me. I know where I'm working on. Now I'll go ahead into local again, and I'll see what more steps are there so that I can follow them up. And if I go a little bit above, all right, so SSH setup is all great. We'll talk about the firewall rules a little bit later. But first we need to disable the root login. So how we can do that? It's almost same in almost exactly all the Ubuntu machines, exactly same for all the non-Ubuntu machines as well, but we'll just go with the steps here. So the step one is to open up this /etc/ssh and sshd config, which is a simple file which has all these Boolean flags that what's allowed, what's not allowed. We can just go ahead and copy this, open this up in the nano, and can just say, hey, I don't want the password authentication, and then we can go ahead and restart the service. It's really that simple. I'll just go ahead and copy this command. I can go back into my local system. There we go. And now I can just simply go ahead and paste this command, sudo nano. And by the way, this command requires a sudo access, otherwise you won't be able to open this up. Yeah, this is requirement. I'm not governing the laws here. And then nano, and the file is present in /etc/sshd config. If I go ahead and open this up, and yeah, it needs password, and the password is for the Hitesh user, not the root user. So yes. All the sudo level commands, you are going to require the password. Now here you can see there are so many things that are governed here. Anything that's having hash at the start of the line, that means it's the comment. That line of the code is not in the action that's commented out. So we can see there are a lot of hotkeys and login systems and info log and authentication. And there we go. We can see the root permit to login as root. I hope you can see this here. There we go. So this is here, root permit login. This is yes. All we got to do is come up here and have to say from yes to no. Yep, it's that simple. All you got to do is just remove this and say no. That's it. Now, once it is being done, you can go ahead and check this one again, that password authentication, change it to no. Optionally, you can change the permit root login to no to prevent the root user. So we can say that the permit root login, we have disabled it. And we also want to hunt for the password based login. So root shouldn't be allowed. And let's see where the next permission is. There we go. We can see it here. It says password authentication is yes. We are going to disable that. No. So two things we have done. We have disabled the root login password, root login, so that nobody can log in with the root permission. And we have also set up that password authentication is no, so nobody is allowed to log in with the password. So only SSH connections are allowed, and you should only do that once your SSH is set up. Otherwise, you will be logged out of the machine. You either have to reach out to your providers or have to set up a new root login. Lots of drama happens after that. So we're going to go ahead and just write this out. So Control O for write out. It's going to ask to overwrite this file. Yes, we are completely okay with that. And now we can go ahead and hit exit. But it's not done. This SSH service needs to be restarted as well. And for this, we can use this command, which is simple sudo service ssh restart. That's it. So we're going to go ahead and paste this command, and there we go, hit enter. Now this service got restart and everything should be all okay. We'll come back onto the firewall, but now at this point, nobody is allowed to log in from the password. Nobody is also allowed to log in from the root as well. So it's pretty secure, pretty good enough. Now comes up the part where how we can secure it with the firewall so that traffic on only certain ports are allowed. And from where also we can govern that from what IP address. For this, you can go ahead and use either these steps. You can install another package, UFW. And after that, you can check the status of it. You can enable it, and you can just mention the allowed port which you want to allow. So simple that, for example, you want to allow 22 port for SSH. You want to allow the port for 2280 or 883. You just go ahead and do that. Pretty simple. Except from these, all of the logins or all of the traffic will be disabled. Additionally, what you can do here is you can actually create your own firewalls. Most of the systems will allow you to have these kinds of firewalls. Like I have created one with the web server, which allows the enabled traffic on the port 80 and the port 443. It should have a port 22 as well for SSH, but I'll walk you through how you can actually create a fresh one. Just click on the firewall and click on the create firewall, and we're going to call this one as YouTube. Good enough. And default inbound policy, we're going to say accept. We want to accept some traffic on that. For some of the very private machines, you can drop all the traffics as well. But hey, and this one you can allow for some of the nodes. I'll just say no, don't do this for anyone. We'll just create this. Now, once we have this create, now go ahead and add inbound rules. So from where you want to allow, I want to allow SSH. So this is the rule that should be added. And what else you want to add? I want to add HTTP because a lot of traffic comes on HTTP as well. A lot of traffic comes from HTTPS as well. So I'll just go ahead and allow that. Outbound, where the traffic can go out. So if you want the network access, you want to download some packages, then you obviously, if you want to talk to internet, then obviously add the rules accordingly, like 80 and 443, so that your machine can go outside and talk to internet as well. But again, totally depends on you how you want to configure. Once you're done with this, then go into the Linode, and yes, we want to save this from where I can save changes, whatever the changes you have made. Go into your Linode machine, click on the deploy, and then you can just go ahead and settings. Hope there is somewhere here. It's somewhere here. I'll find it. Network. And there we go. We can actually have a firewall. No firewalls are assigned, but you can go into your firewalls and assign that firewall to this machine or as many machines as you wish. So this is the step of hardening your servers, and you got this idea of how to do it. Now this machine, the machine that we have, this Linode, this is completely ready ready for installing more packages. If you want to install Nginx onto it, caddy onto it, deploy the machines, Git, there's so much things that we can do with this very simple and absolute basic machine. And definitely I'll be adding more of these tutorials in the next videos. We'll be definitely discussing about the Nginx installation and whatnot and setups and how it works and all these things. You will be very comfortable in deploying any of the application that you are building, whether that's Node application, Python application, Java application. It's pretty simple after this. This was the only tough part. And yes, as you can see, it's not that tough. It's manageable, fairly manageable. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Pretty long video, but hey, it's a deployment series. It's a lot of fun that we are having. Don't forget the comment target. I'll definitely see and look forward for each and every comments that's out there in the video. And please motivate me. I would be really happy with that. That's it for this video. In the next video, let's go ahead and install Nginx. Hey there everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel. My name is Hitesh, and in this video I'll walk you through how to set up Nginx on a remote VPS, as well as some of the behind the scenes of it and some learning stuff. We'll be deploying our very first website. Also, we'll be checking up if the Nginx is up and running and what even is the Nginx. We'll go through with the basics of it. So in case you are new here on my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe as well. Your support is really, really important for me. And comment target, not putting up much, just 90 comments. I hope we can do that. I know a lot more people than 90 watch these videos, but if you can just put up one comment to boost my motivation or say, hey, I'm watching it from XYZ city, it really makes me happy that it's not just me talking alone in a room, talking to camera. There's somebody who's watching the videos and getting advantage from it. Anyways, let's go ahead and set up the Nginx. I hope you're watching the series in the playlist. If you're jumping around, this is a complete playlist of deploy. And we are on to, I guess, our third video now. So these are the documentation, and let me walk you through what we have done so far. We have actually spinned up a new machine, a VPS on Linode. Feel free to use anything, DigitalOcean, whatever you like. And we have configured it properly and set it up securely using all the updates and upgrades and hardening it with the SSH keys and disabling the root login, all of the things we have done. Now we have a situation that we are into the machine. This is the machine that we are comfortably can log into that with the SSH or with the password, however you want to go. Recommendation is password. Now I want to configure Nginx into this. Nginx is a web server so that I can deploy at least a basic website. I'll walk you through how to deploy more complex websites later on, but at least basics. Start with the basics. That's always a good idea. So how can we do that? First of all, Nginx. What is this Nginx? So Nginx is a web server. In case you are old school like me on the web, you might have heard about Apache, which is also still to this date a pretty good web server. The whole idea about the web server is if somebody walks into your IP address or your domain name, you just want to serve them with some web pages. For example, I went to Nginx. It wants to serve me this web page. This is a very static web page. How can you do that with your own machine? That's what Nginx allows you to do so. Now Nginx, although it's called as a reverse proxy software, I do have a dedicated videos on the proxy and reverse proxy. Consider this as a web server, but don't get fooled about that. It is very complex of a software, even so much that if you look at the books, there are so many books written on this, just one piece of software. It has so much of the capabilities. It can not only serve the static websites, it can actually serve Node application, Django applications, Java applications, Spring Boot applications. It can do a lots of logging as well. It can use for redirections. It can use for load balancers. There's so much that you can do. You can even do by default A/B testing and IP-based geolocation on that. So much is possible with this software. I don't think that this web page does enough of justice with it, but hey, we got it covered. Now, of course, it's not possible to cover end-to-end of the Nginx, but we'll try our best to give you at least a brief idea so that you feel comfortable right at the home with the Nginx software. So how can we get started? Again, you have to go on to docs.chicode.com. This is where I write all the documentation so that you can also follow along. So reading a little bit, Nginx is a popular open source web server that can be used to serve static files, dynamic content, proxy requests, and so much more. We have gone through with that. So prerequisites: a server with the root access, a domain name IP address, a web server that can serve. So just basic whole summary is you should be able to log in into the machine either through the root user or any user. I'm not talking focused on the security. We have done that in the previous video. Now I'm focused on just on Nginx. How can we do that? First of all is sudo apt update. So let's go ahead and copy this and try to update this. I'm going to go ahead and update my system first, although my system is updated, so I don't think so we need to worry much about it. It's all good. Now the next step is install. The installation in Linux, it looks scary from outside, but it's not that scary. We have package managers now, which can actually download all the all the dependencies of this package and can get it. It's fairly easy, not that much of a big deal that people scare you off, at least. So let's just go ahead and say install Nginx. And yes, I definitely want to install all the whatever you need for that. And should be fairly simple of a process. Told you, that's it. Your Nginx is up and running now. Not up and running, but it's all there. Now to verify that whether the Nginx is starting or enabled, we need to run these two commands. The first command actually starts it, the Nginx as a process, and the second command enables it. That means even if the machine restart or anything, it keeps it up and running. So you want to run these two commands. You can actually just copy them and can run that all together as well. One by one would be a good idea, but I can just go ahead and run this. And that's it. Now it is enabled. It is there into the system config. That means it is there. It is there to stay. Now, how can I verify that whether it is installed or not? So I'll have to go into HTTP. Remember, we haven't installed any SSL certificates yet. That can also be done. But as of now, all you want to do is http:// and then the IP address of your machine. It's actually easy. I can just go into my machine. I know the IP address of it. I can just copy this and I can go onto the browser and can say http:// and the IP address. And there we go. If yours also say welcome to Nginx and see this web page either on white or dark mode, that means it's done. You have installed Nginx. Congratulations. Told you, it's not really that big of a deal. Configuring Nginx can be really daunting and can be really complex, but just getting installed Nginx and serving the web homepage, it's really the simplest task. Now, what could be the next step? The next step is also mentioned in the docs, so we'll just go with that. So set up Nginx. This is the part where we actually go ahead and do the setup. I'll not use this command exactly because it is using Vim. I'll change this into the documentation. I don't want to bog you down into the Vim rabbit hole. It's a good editor, no doubt, but I want to make these tutorials really friendly. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this command, but instead of the Vim, we are going to use sudo, and this is the configuration file. Inside the /etc, you will find an Nginx folder, and this is where you'll find a lot of these files. So let's go ahead and see what's there in the /etc/Nginx. Let's go up there before we do anything. So I'm going to go ahead and cd/etc, and I do have Nginx as a folder. If I go ahead and do ls, you'll see there is so many files up here. Each file serves a very different purpose and can be configured like endlessly. You saw there are books written onto it. So yeah, there's a lot of configuration that can happen. The most important ones is the site available, but a lot of things are written in the chunk format in the Nginx, and I'll walk you through with some of them. But these are the module-wise files that you want to have. Right now, the file that we are interested in is inside the sites available, and then we have the /default. If I take you into this folder, all the blue ones are folder, which is not a good idea to find a folder, but hey, in this case, we are okay with that. So if I go into the sites available and do a quick ls, you can see there is just one file, but there could be more files here as well. Right now we have just default, and I want to open that up. I'm going to go ahead and use a sudo to open this file, otherwise I won't be able to. And I'll use a nano for this one to open, and I'll just say, hey, just open up the default. If I go ahead and hit enter, you'll see gazillion of the text here, which is okay because most of it is commented, and it just shows you how it works. Now you'll see the block. So there are a lot of blocks and chunks in the Nginx which are given. Right now you can see the first block which says server, and it says it's listening on the port 80, and on port 80 it's listening to default server. We can just go ahead and do SSL configuration as well, which we'll see probably later, not sure. But you can see there's so much options. The one option that's written here is it says root, which says /war/www, then /html. So this is a root folder which is accessing, and there it's trying to access some of the files. The files could be index, or could be index.html, or could be index.html, or could be index.nginx-debian.html. So when I say that web server automatically picks up the file which is known as index.html or index.htm, this is exactly the configuration where you write it and make it available. In some of the earlier servers, especially the Apache one, there used to be another file here which called as default.html. So sometimes if the index file is not there, it might pick up with the file with the name of default as well. These all settings are mentioned up here. And this also mentioned that where all these locations are, so you can configure it for PHP, you can deny. There's so much that you can do. So you can see the file is decently long. We'll definitely walk through with some of them, but hey, in this case, it's okay. It's actually giving us all the location where the things are and where can I find it. The most important for me is the root where the file location is, which is not hashed, so it is available. And then it says the server name is also here, and I can see that the index and all these files are there. So I can just go ahead and make it available, and I can say that server name could be localhost as well. That's okay. Then we can see the files are there and these files are there, and then we have location as well. So we can just go ahead and replace the file content with the following file, and we can see that what can go wrong with this when we go ahead and replace all these things with this and can have it. Now at this point you can go ahead and install some better code editors or something like that. I'm not gonna change it much. I'll just keep it as it is. It would be really nice if I can just go ahead and remove everything and show you how it works on the default one. Let me just try to do that. All right, took some time, but yeah, I removed everything inside the file. I should have opened that into Vim. I'm much more friendlier in the Vim than compared to Nano. But anyways, all the content in the file is gone now. Now what I want to do next is just go up here, copy this, all the things so that we have a fresh start. Come back here, and I just want to paste the content here. Now it's much more cleaner to look, and we can see what's exactly happening here. The first thing is the server. So we are putting up a server block, which is listening on port 80. And the server name is localhost, which is also good. The root where it's trying to access the directory, the file or the folder where it is trying to access all this is var www.html. We need to go into this files and folder and do some configurations and settings here as well. It's looking for the file with the name of either index, index.html or index.html. These are default file that it will automatically pick and serve. Now in the location, it will try to get the file. If it doesn't get the file, it will throw the default 404, which is there in the Nginx. All right, so a lot of stuff. So let's go ahead and hit Control O so that we can go ahead and write this file and go ahead and do the exit. Now the file is still there and we have configured it, but it's not yet done. The job is not yet done. We have to do a couple of more steps. Now we have to go into the document root directory if it doesn't exist. So step one is go into /var www and html. Let's go ahead and see if this directory exists or not. So I'll go ahead and hit the cd. I need to go into /var and /www and then html and see what exists here. It says index.nginx-debian.html. We'll keep it there to investigate couple of things, but we'll keep it there. Now, if this directory doesn't exist, which is also a case in some of the VPS as well, then you can go ahead and create this. Once you create this, you also have to run this command so that this folder have enough permission so that the user who has logged in and have installed the Nginx can actually access this folder. That's why this is there, but we don't need to do this. Apart from this, this directory also needs execution permission so that somebody can go inside the Linux. In order to access the Linux directories, you need to provide an executable permissions to directories, because once you double click on that, that's executing of the directories. You're going inside that. So don't worry about this. This is totally okay. Now we're going to go ahead and create a sample index.html file into this one. Now remember, Nginx also worry about the order of the file as well. So index, index.html, index.html, and then this file, which is index engine. So whichever comes first is getting picked up first. So what we're going to do is just create this new file, index.html. We'll open this up and we'll copy paste this stuff. So let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to go ahead and say touch, and I'll say index.html. And we are going to again use nano for this one. So, oops, the permissions denied. I'm not permissioned. I'm not allowed to do this. So let's go ahead and add the permissions. So let's go ahead and run the commands. Good that we have fallen to this error. It's good to have errors. Let's go ahead and change the ownership of this directory, then provide the permissions. So as I was mentioning, this sometimes happens. In fact, this happens all the time. And now we are able to not only just see what's happening, we can actually go ahead and create files as well. So touch and index.html. There we go. Now I'm allowed to do so. ls, and I can open this up. So not the Vim, but I'll go with the nano and index.html. Yep, that's the one, and open this up. Now let's go ahead and copy some of the code. Not really the biggest of the code, but I'll just go ahead and copy this and we'll paste it up here. I'll go ahead and change this a little bit. So instead of the hello world, I'm going to go ahead and say something different. Hello chai code. And that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and control O first to write this out. And then I can go ahead and do Control X to exit this. All right, so our file is there. And now we can test the Nginx configuration for any syntax error, or probably we might have not copy pasted properly. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and paste this. And it shouldn't be like that. So I can just go ahead and remove that. Sudo nginx -t. Okay, there should be just one option. And hit enter. So it says configuration file syntax is okay. Test is successful. Looks good, looks good. All right, so reload the Nginx. This is important because we have changed some of the files and even changed a lot of configuration. So it's important that we go ahead and configure that. I'll go ahead and remove these comments. They should be up at the top. I'll update the documentation. Don't you worry on that part. Right now, when I'm copying, it's also copying the hash as well. I don't like that. I think it should be better. And don't worry, by the time you'll be watching the videos, it will be all updated. I'll go ahead and reload this. And now technically I should be able to see immediate results up here, that what's happening. And there we go. Hello chai code. Told you it's really easy to actually have your own Nginx and configuration. So you can see, just like we can just go ahead and deploy. And by the way, all of your React apps, Vue apps ultimately are just HTML, CSS, and JavaScripts only. You can put these files into those folders and just call it index and just make it up and running. But a couple of things you should really know about Nginx is their documentation. In the Nginx, everything needs a configuration. You want to serve CSS, that's a configuration. You want to serve JavaScript, it's a configuration. You want to serve images, JPEGs, PNGs, or PDFs, that's a configuration. You have to configure it. And don't worry, there are so many of the Git repositories which are available to run all these things. So whatever you want to do, like rate limiting, request module, rate limiting, SSL, everything is a configuration that you need to do. So SSL module, if you want to have this, just go ahead and click on this. You can just go ahead and have a directives. Each of those blocks are known as directives. And you can have so many of the SSLs up here. So I can just go ahead and click on this. There we go. You can see syntax, defaults. This is how it looks like. Everything is available up here. I'll probably walk you through with some more of this, but I think with this video, it is enough for you to get started with at least the Nginx, install it, see how it's being done, where to find the files, and put up your at least basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files, and make sure you do the configuration for them. And good start with your VPS. Really proud of you. So go ahead and subscribe the channel, and if you haven't yet commented out, go ahead, please put that comment, and I'll catch you up in the next video. Hey there everyone, my name is Hitesh and welcome to the series Deploy. In case you are new onto this channel and for the first time you're watching this video, this is a part of a playlist, we call it as Deploy, in which I'm walking you through with the nuances of all the deployment that happens. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through that how rate limiting is done with the Nginx. And first of all, what is this rate limiting concept? We're going to discuss that. We also have a small target of comments on this video, nothing much, just 60 comments, and I would be super happy to see from where you're watching this video and are these videos helping you out or not. Let me know in the comment section. So first of all, discussing the idea of the rate limiting and why is it necessary and at what level it can happen. Now, rate limiting can happen on multiple levels. The first one is on the code level, as soon as the request reaches to the code part. Another level that it can be done is on the server level, where the software is running like Nginx, and you can actually discard the request directly at that level. Having it on the both level is always a great idea, but in this video we'll focus just on having a rate limit on to the server level. So I'll walk you through with the documentation and our own documentation as well, in case the Nginx is a little bit overwhelming for you. So I still am connected with the same machine that we spinned up in the last couple of videos. I am expecting that you are also on that machine, and we'll be just modifying a couple of files. In the last video, our server was up and running, Nginx. In this video also, server will be up and running. There is not going to be much of a difference in that. But yeah, we'll be just working with that. So in case you want to see that where the documentation is for the rate limiting, you have to search for it. It's not easy to just look forward into this one. And the first one that you want to search is not the rate limiting, but actually just search for the limit. This will give you two of the major files up first here. There are actually one of them. There is a connection module. We don't want to go with that. Just go and search for the one which says this one, Nginx HTTP limit request module. There is a connection module as well. We are not much interested in that part. We are interested on this request module. As you can see, I've been visiting this quite often. So this is how it works. There are a lot of directives. That means lots of blocks which are available for you, and you can actually inject this block here and can have a rate limiting. Now, rate limiting is a very simple concept. If one IP address is back-to-back requesting you, maybe they are trying to flood you or DDoS you. So there are certain number of requests only allowed from a particular IP address. So we have to store the IP address as well somewhere in the memory so that the flooding cannot happen. And there should be some permissible number of amount of requests that can be sent to you. So both of these are going to be done, and you can see there are lots of ways how you can do this. Limit request, limit request zone, environment variable, a lot of them are here. Now you can go ahead and read a whole lot about it in case you wish. This is not a really long documentation, but I have actually extracted some meaningful information out of it, and you can find that at docs.chicode.com. And this is where you can see the rate limiting in Nginx. So this is the new docs that I pushed just before this video, and we'll be just going through that what are the details and how it works. So first of all, Nginx provides simple ways to add rate limiting. The first one is limit request zone and limit request. So this is the directive. Directive means the block. As you can see, this is HTTP block. This is HTTP directive. So this similar kind of that we will be going through with this one using limiting HTTP request. For this, we have to open up a special file which is sudo nano /etc/nginx and nginx config. Let's go ahead and open that. So I am currently into quite far away from this. We need to go into /etc/nginx. Let's go ahead, go to /cd/ come on, I can write that, /etc/nginx, and let's go ahead and do a quick ls. And can I see the file, which file I'm looking for? nginx.conf. So the config file should be somewhere here. Here it is, nginx config. Now I want to open this file. Couple of ways to open it. You can go ahead and use Vim. Not going to judge you on that. In fact, you are a good programmer. I'll be using nano because it's easier for me, and I'll be just going with the nginx config. Now, as soon as I open this, it says it's unwritable. So that's why we have to use sudo for this one. Let's go ahead and exit that, and we'll be using sudo nano, and we'll be saying nginx config. Now it's going to be asked password. Hopefully that's the one. Yep. So now I can go ahead and edit this file, and as you can see, there are so many of the things here. One where we are interested is in the HTTP module. So you can see this is a pretty big of a module, and we want to inject some of the settings in here. There are SSL settings. There are so many settings going on up here. What we want to do is just the HTTP. Let's go into the docs. So in the HTTP, we want to add the following code, which says limit request zone, then a whole lot of things, and then got this one. I'll just go ahead and copy this. I don't want to copy the whole thing. Just want to know that this is somewhere it's going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste it up here. So I'll just go ahead and paste this. I will also indent this properly so that it's not really bothering us much. So I can just go ahead and hit this tab, and one tab is good enough. All right, you can put it at the top, at the bottom. It's not going to bother much in this case, but sometimes it does. In this case, it's not going to bother much. And then all we have to do is just save this file and talk about this one. So let's go ahead and write it out. So Control O to write this out, and Control X to exit this. Job is not yet done. We need to study a little bit. So this is a directive. Directive means this is, oops, my bad. So there are different blocks in the Nginx. The first block we are studying here is Nginx, and in that there is a directive. Directive simply means a command that you are giving to Nginx. So this is my directive. I really need to check my mouse. Limit that we are constructing, and then we have a couple of variables going on, some zone which says limit colon 10m, rate 2 requests per second. But these are all unknown variables. We want to study them. So I have actually written what's actually it means. So first of all, limit request zone, this is a directive. This is an Nginx directive that, hey, I want to enable one more settings. After that, there is a binary remote address. This is a variable that holds the client IP address, but more interestingly, it holds that in the binary format. This is done to save some of the space in the memory, and converting things into the binary saves a little bit of the memory. So that's why we are using this special variable. A moment a request comes to the server, it just converts into binary and hold that in the memory. After that, the next is variable that what zone you want to use. This my limit is just a variable. There could be multiple zones. Maybe you want to allow more requests from the US, maybe you want to allow more requests from India, depends on what zone you want to enable. In this case, we are naming it just randomly as my limit. Feel free to use any variable. After that, it's saying 10m. 10m simply means how much space in the memory we want to give. So in this case, the 10m means 10 megabytes of the memory, which is good enough. I have given you an estimation, rough estimation here as well, that it's going to hold around 160,000 of the IP addresses, which is pretty big, but you can allocate more memory as well if your server allows that. Now after that, this is the variable rate 2 requests per second. Pretty easy, self-explanatory. 2 R per second means we'll allow it to make 2 requests per second. So that's it. That's the variable. Now you understand each bit of it and you will be able to configure it. But as I said, this is not all done. We have still a couple of more settings that needs to be done, because now your server knows it, but which files this server or this capacity or this rate limiting needs to apply, we need to mention that as well. And for this, we need to open this sites available default file. So let's go ahead and open that as well. We're going to go into cd sites available. Yep, that's the one. If I do a ls, this is the one. So I'll open that as sudo nano, come on, and we'll open up the default. There we go. Once I open this up, we have nothing much into this file. We have already cleaned this up, so that's why it's easy. Inside this server, now inside the location, notice there is a location here. We have the try files, but apart from this location, exactly at this location from where I'm serving this file, I want to inject this, which says limit request, which is another declaration, saying that I am putting up a zone of my limit. This variable my limit is exactly same as I mentioned there, because in that server I can mention multiple of such requests based on the zone. I'm also putting up this burst 20 and no delay. These are new variables here, so let's study about them. So this thing burst 20 allows a burst of up to 20 requests beyond the definition limit. So yes, in case somebody is in a genuine need of those requests, a 20 requests per second of the burst will be allowed, but no more than that. You can set it up to 0 as well in case you don't want to allow it. But after setting the hard limit, I want to go a little bit flexible on that. That's why I'm putting up the burst of 0. No delay means that the request that exceeds the rate limit should be rejected immediately rather than delayed. So sometimes you can put the configuration that, hey, after this, just keep the settings in the hold in the queue. Nginx can do that all automatically for you, and then it will allow you to do so. So that's really nice. So let's go ahead and copy this. So I'll just go ahead and copy this and I'll paste it up here. So this is the part. I go up here and I'll just say, hey, let's go ahead and hit a line enter, hit the tab, and I'll just go ahead and paste this. That's it. And now I can just go ahead and say, I want to write this, Control O, and yep, write that here, Control X, and there we go. But job is not yet done. Job is not yet done. We have made some settings and configurations. So that means we want to check whether the settings were done properly or we have made some mistake. maybe there's a typo, maybe there's something. So it's a good way. I really like that how Nginx, you can just pass on an option of -t to see that whether the syntax is okay or I have made some mistake before I restart, because otherwise the whole thing will be crashed. But it's really nice. I just use it quite a lot. And after that, I have to reload this so that all settings gets enabled. So I just go ahead, copy this and go ahead and paste it. And there we go. That's it. It hardly takes a few seconds for these small settings to get enabled, and our website should be still up and running, and we are storing 10 MB there. So still 2 requests per second is pretty good, and we can just go ahead and 2 requests per second is really decent enough, good enough. So there we go. In case you want to read more and learn more about it, there is a whole Nginx HTTP limit request module. You can go ahead and learn about it. You can have the log levels, you want to have the logs, you want to have the zones. Everything obviously comes up from here. So go ahead and try this out in case you want to read more. But I don't think so you will need anything more than this. So all the examples are taken care of here. Anytime you need to revisit it or something, just come to docs.chaicode.com and join our Discord as well in case you are new here. It's available at hitesh.ai/discord. And there are a lot of fun people around there, almost 50,000. They are always happy to help each other out. Lots of senior programmers, lots of beginners as well. So go ahead and join that out as well. So that is it. That's your rate limiting in the Nginx. In the next video, I'll have a little bit of the more fun with this. So go ahead and let's go ahead and catch up in the next video. I really like YouTube for one big reason. Even if the smallest to the biggest configuration, everything can coexist on YouTube. Hey there everyone, my name is Hitesh. And in this video, I'll walk you through that how you can set up your domain name with a VPS. I know it's a really basic for a person who is experienced, but there are people who are still worried about how to do it. So I'll walk you through, although I cannot just walk you through with each and every domain name provider, but I'll be providing you the details about the GoDaddy. But the details are exactly same. If you have got Namecheap, GoDaddy, whatever the service you're using, it doesn't really matter. The options are exactly same. The places where you have to go will name exactly the same, will sound exactly the same, and we can just go ahead and try this out. So the whole idea is that we have enough of the details about the IP addresses. We have written the IP addresses on the URL bar, which is not really friendly. Most of the time we want to write just the websites like chaicode.com there. So how we can actually configure that, that's exactly this video. Not going to be long, but we'll walk you through and help some of those people who really need this information. So we'll keep the comment target just 50. Just go ahead, put that in the comment section that yes, even the minutest of the smallest detail were covered in this playlist. So I'll just go up here. This is my GoDaddy account, and probably will need to hide some of the details or something from in this video. I'll try that to actually hide all these details and all these things in here. All you got to do here is once you are in the domain, I have a lot of domains going up there. Just go ahead and click on the DNS. This is the part where you want to go. Inside the DNS, you'll find a lots of record of the DNS, and especially you can see A record, NS record, and whatnot. Now, in case you are creating a subdomain, that means you can just go ahead and click on add a record and can say that, hey, I want to choose an A record or C name, whatever that is. I'll walk you through with that. Just add up your subdomain. Probably you are adding, let's just say docs.dailystreak. So in that, just add the value. This is your IP address, and that's it. In my case, this is not the case. I'm not adding a subdomain. I'm adding a real domain. So from where the IP address needs to go, this is the IP address. So you can just go ahead and grab your IP address just from there. And I can just paste my IP address here and can just shorten down the TTL. Half hour is good enough. Now this is going to make my value of the docs, and already the domain name is going to be there. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is, yes, cancel this. I want to change this first A record. The moment you change the first A record, that means you are pointing your domain and you are connecting your IP address along with that. This is the first thing that you will do. So this old domain, dailystreak.app, we are going to go ahead and modify this one. So this A record, you'll find that in every single place. I'll go ahead and edit this out and make sure it's an A record, not a AAA, not the C name, just one single A. That's what we want. And this needs to be @ this is probably going to be autofilled, but if it is not there, just put the name as A @ here. Now in the value, we don't want the part, we want actually this domain to be there. TTL, custom TTL is 600 second is good enough. I'll just go ahead and save this. Hopefully it will allow me to save, and this is updating the DNS record. And hopefully it should be done. So now that's it. Told you it's really simple. Now I can go ahead and look for some of the tools which says DNS propagation, and yep, this is the one which I use quite a lot. And I can just come back and see that this IP address is properly resolved or not, and if it is resolved, where it is. And just go ahead, paste your IP address, paste your domain, and then check for the A record. Or in case you are updating any other record, just go ahead and select that record. I'll just hit the search, and you can see in a lot of location this is being updated. In fact, it is updated in all of the location. So now technically what I can do is I can go on to this and can access the same detail up here. But the problem is this is a special domain. .app are special domains, so they really don't work on HTTP. So in the next video, we'll learn how to do and propagate an SSL certificate as well. But probably, yeah, it's automatically redirected to the HTTPS, as you can see in the top. The domain is supposed to work on only HTTP because that's where my server is listening. Nginx is listening. There is no SSL certificate. That's why it's creating a problem. So yes, we will solve that problem. There is no big deal, but this is the whole idea of how you actually put up your domain. Now these .app domain are really, really special. So that's why they only work on HTTPS and not on the HTTP. But other domains like .com, .in, .co, they all work on port 80 as well and port 443 as well. That means HTTP and HTTPS as well. But you got the point. You got the point that how to do this. Pretty simple, pretty basic stuff, nothing much to be worried. Yeah, just go ahead, grab your IP address, put up a record, put up on the domain, buy a domain, and that's it. So really simple guide on how to set up a custom domain on a VPS. Pretty simple. Let's go into the next video and learn how we can actually configure our SSL. Now that everything is matched, we need to install a certbot so that we can configure free SSL certificates on our application on the Nginx so that our application can start working with that. We will also learn how we can deploy some of the fun applications as well. Let's go ahead and catch up in next video. I really like YouTube for one big reason. Even if the smallest to the biggest configuration, everything can coexist on YouTube. Hey there everyone, my name is Hitesh. And in this video, I'll walk you through that how you can set up your domain name with a VPS. I know it's a really basic for a person who is experienced, but there are people who are still worried about how to do it. So I'll walk you through, although I cannot just walk you through with each and every domain name provider, but I'll be providing you the details about the GoDaddy. But the details are exactly same. If you have got Namecheap, GoDaddy, whatever the service you're using, it doesn't really matter. The options are exactly same. The places where you have to go will name exactly the same, will sound exactly the same, and we can just go ahead and try this out. So the whole idea is that we have enough of the details about the IP addresses. We have written the IP addresses on the URL bar, which is not really friendly. Most of the time we want to write just the websites like chicode.com there. So how we can actually configure that, that's exactly this video. Not going to be long, but we'll walk you through and help some of those people who really need this information. So we'll keep the comment target just 50. Just go ahead, put that in the comment section that yes, even the minutest of the smallest detail were covered in this playlist. So I'll just go up here. This is my GoDaddy account, and probably will need to hide some of the details or something from in this video. I'll try that to actually hide all these details on all these things in here. All you got to do here is once you are in the domain, I have a lot of domains going up there. Just go ahead and click on the DNS. This is the part where you want to go. Inside the DNS, you will find lots of record of the DNS, and especially you can see A record, NS record, and whatnot. Now, in case you are creating a subdomain, that means you can just go ahead and click on add a record and can say that, hey, I want to choose an A record or C name, whatever that is. I'll walk you through with that. Just add up your subdomain. Probably you are adding, let's just say docs.dailystreak. So in that, just add the value. This is your IP address, and that's it. In my case, this is not the case. I'm not adding a subdomain. I'm adding a real domain. So from where the IP address needs to go, this is the IP address. So you can just go ahead and grab your IP address just from there. And I can just paste my IP address here and can just shorten down the TTL. Half hour is good enough. Now this is going to make my value of the docs, and already the domain name is going to be there. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is, yes, cancel this. I want to change this first A record. The moment you change the first A record, that means you are pointing your domain and you are connecting your IP address along with that. This is the first thing that you will do. So this old domain, dailystreak.app, we are going to go ahead and modify this one. So this A record, you'll find that in every single place. I'll go ahead and edit this out and make sure it's an A record, not a AAA, not the C name, just one single A. That's what we want. And this needs to be at the rate. This is probably going to be autofilled, but if it is not there, just put the name as a at the rate here. Now in the value, we don't want the part, we want actually this domain to be there. TTL, custom TTL is 600 second is good enough. I'll just go ahead and save this. Hopefully it will allow me to save, and this is updating the DNS record. And hopefully it should be done. So now that's it. Told you it's really simple. Now I can go ahead and look for some of the tools which says DNS propagation, and yep, this is the one which I use quite a lot. And I can just come back and see that this IP address is properly resolved or not, and if it is resolved, where it is. And just go ahead, paste your IP address, paste your domain, and then check for the A record, or in case you are updating any other record, just go ahead and select that record. I'll just hit the search, and you can see in a lot of location this is being updated. In fact, it is updated in all of the location. So now technically what I can do is I can go on to this and can access the same detail up here. But the problem is this is a special domain. .app are special domains, so they really don't work on HTTP. So in the next video, we'll learn how to do and propagate an SSL certificate as well. But probably, yeah, it's automatically redirected to the HTTPS, as you can see in the top. The domain is supposed to work on only HTTP because that's where my server is listening. Nginx is listening. There is no SSL certificate. That's why it's creating a problem. So yes, we will solve that problem. There is no big deal, but this is the whole idea of how you actually put up your domain. Now these .app domain are really special. So that's why they only work on HTTPS and not on the HTTP. But other domains like .com, .in, .co, they all work on port 80 as well and port 443 as well. That means HTTP and HTTPS as well. But you got the point. You got the point that how to do this. Pretty simple, pretty basic stuff, nothing much to be worried. Yeah, just go ahead, grab your IP address, put up a record, put up on the domain, buy a domain, and that's it. So really simple guide on how to set up a custom domain on a VPS. Pretty simple. Let's go into the next video and learn how we can actually configure our SSL. Now that everything is matched, we need to install a certbot so that we can configure free SSL certificates on our application on the Nginx so that our application can start working with that. We will also learn how we can deploy some of the fun applications as well. Let's go ahead and catch up in next video. Hey there everyone, my name is Hitesh, and in this video I'll walk you through how you can set up an SSL certificate on your Nginx web server and can have your website all on HTTPS. It's really not that of a big deal. It's surely doable, and you will also be able to do this after this video. Not only that, I will also give you the documentation, precise documentation that you can copy paste, and whenever you need them again, just come back here, docs.chicode.com. But for that, I'll request you to put up a comment that, hey, these documentation are helpful, or all these videos are really helpful. We're putting up a target of just 100 comments. I think we can achieve that, and I'm pretty sure a lot more people are watching. If you'll spend just a minute to write down this comment section, it would be really helpful for me. So let's go ahead and let me walk you through that how the SSL certificate works and what are the prerequisites for this one. So number one prerequisites about the certificate is to have this domain name. It might not work on the HTTPS yet, but having a domain name is required. There is no other option. You need to have the authority to set up the domain, set up an IP address on that. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So that's the number one requirement. Once you've set up this basic configuration that I showed you in the last video, that, hey, just set up your A record with the IP address, and that's it. That's all you have to do in the DNS. Come on to the Chai docs, and at the very bottom here, you can see this one, last one, is the setup of SSL in Nginx on Ubuntu. Same can be done for other machines as well, but there are some certain steps we have to follow that. We'll follow them line by line, we'll understand them, and that's it. That's all you gotta do. So the step one is to install certbot and the Nginx plugin. So there are two combination of the things which makes it auto configurable for the Nginx, and there's one guy who brings up the certificates as well. So the certbot is responsible for bringing the certification, and the Nginx plugin is the Nginx plugin which injects everything in between. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply run the command of sudo apt install certbot and python 3 certbot Nginx. So these are the two components. Let's go ahead and copy this, go back up here, and you can install them from wherever you like. Doesn't really matter much. We're going to go ahead and hit enter, and it's going to ask password. And let's go ahead and give it a password. And yes, I want to accept everything. And yep. So this usually doesn't take that much of time, but it's a tiny bit. It gets a lot of things done and all these things. Yes, it might look a little bit scary, but nothing to worry. We have just installed a couple of packages. That's it. Now the next step is to configure your Nginx, and the configuration happens into the default file. And in the default file, precisely we have to mention this time server_name. This is a directive again, and this directive takes a URL, and this could be a subdomain, this could be a main domain. In our case, it's a dailystreak.app. But in my case, it could be test.chicode.com. In your case, it could be something else. So subdomain, domain, whatever that is, you need to just give that. Let's go ahead and open that up. So this is going to be sites available. Is it the same one? Yep, default one. Let's go ahead and do a quick ls, and default is there. So I'm going to go ahead and say sudo nano, and I'm going to open up the default. And I'm going to go this time the server. Notice here, previously there was a server name which was localhost. Now that's not going to be the case. It's not going to be localhost. So we're going to go ahead and remove this localhost. So go ahead and remove it. And instead of having this manually typed, I'm going to go ahead and grab it. So I'll just copy this, and I'll come back here and I will paste it. So dailystreak.app, in case yours is subdomain or something else, you can just go ahead and grab that. So that's the step one. Let's go back onto this. So server name, again, remember server name, dailystreak.app, whatever that is. You can just go ahead and have this. Now the next step is go ahead, save the file and check out whether the configurations are done or you have done some mistake on that. So Control O to save that. Yes, I want to write that, and Control X to quit that. And we're going to go ahead and check the nginx t command, sudo nginx-t. So I'm going to go ahead and run this sudo nginx dash, not like that, nginx -t. All right, so what happened? Nginx, oh, my bad. my bad. Nginx-t should be all good. And it says syntax is okay, test is successful, looks okay, looks decent. All right, the next step is we now need to create a record in your domain registrar. That usually used to take a lot of request and step. In our case, we just went with the GoDaddy, set up the A record to the IP address of our server. So record A type, test, whatever the name is, and the value is the IP address. That's it. We have already done this step. Now we are on to the step 4, which is obtain an SSL certificate. In order to do so, we just need to run this command and just have to modify with the URL name. That is important. It will ask you some of the question based on that. You have to actually answer that properly. Otherwise, the certificate might mismatch and all these things might happen. So just go ahead and paste this. And instead of saying that, hey, this is going to be test.chicode.com, I'll just go ahead and paste the URL of this one. So I'll just copy this and I'll come back and I'll paste this and I'll hit enter. Now this is going to ask a couple of questions, that email address you want to use for renewal. So in this case, I'm going to use, let's just say hitesh@chicode.com, and this will be used. This will send me even an email on this email address. So I'll just go ahead and hit enter. And order with registrar, do you agree? Of course, I agree all the licenses. You always have to. There is no much options for you. So yes, and digital freedom. Yes, I also want to support that. So requesting certificate for the Daily Streak app. And it shouldn't take that much of the time, but depends on how much busy the server is going on, because it's a free certificate request. It's also going to deploy that, and it says, congratulations, you have enabled HTTPS on the Daily Streak app. Looks good. Now, this also takes a couple of seconds and minutes, probably sometimes, to deploy that. Once you're all done, just go ahead and access your website. It takes a little bit of the time. I'll walk you through with these last two steps as well, but hopefully now it should be enabled. There we go. We deployed and checked it out. The reason why it didn't work before that, because some of these domains, like especially .app, there are a couple ones others as well, which do not work with the HTTP. And yes, other things like .com, .in, .uk, they work with HTTP as well, but these are special domains, so they have some requirement that they cannot work without HTTPS. But hey, look at this. This is our own application running on our own VPS. We have installed HTTPS on that. The certificates are all running and up. Hey, the deploy series is working for you, and you're still, don't do that. Hit that comment section. I really want you to do that. Okay, next up, a couple of more things. We won't be running that, but hey, you can just go ahead and try that. So sometimes you might want to renew the certificates. There are some utilities which can automatically renew it. You can run cron jobs and a lot of other things with that. I'm not going to go into depth of that as of now. But hey, in case you want to check if the certificate is close to expiry, you can run the command. These are optional. Copy them, run them. Sudo certbot. Certbot is responsible for doing all of this. It can renew and check for a dry run. And in case you want to renew, that's the command. That is it. And that's it. You have done whole job. So told you, it's really not that of a big deal, especially when you are learning with me and on the deploy series. Just keep enjoying your sip of the tea. And congratulations, you have configured a domain, you have installed Nginx, you have your own SSL certificate, and I'm pretty sure you are enjoying this series. And now I know you want to install a node-based application, want to run it on the SSL and all of that. I know you are going in that direction. But don't worry, we'll check that all of this in the next video. Stay tuned. Let me know in the comment section. If you're watching it wherever you are watching, one comment makes my day. So, or just click a photo, post me up on the Twitter. Let's go ahead and catch up in the next video. Welcome to the attempt 2 of making this video. In this video, we're going to walk through that how we can deploy a node-based application on a VPS machine, and you can configure this with the domain name and pretty much anything that you want. The recording is attempted on number 2 because the first one didn't went according to the plan, and yeah, stuff happened. So I guess just a small love in the comment section that hey, thanks for doing it one more time would be really motivation for me. Otherwise, it's not easy to record these videos back to back, and that too on the attempt 2. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, what we are going to do. Now, it is a common scenario that you have your node-based application or any JavaScript application. Doesn't really need to be node. It really good suits in the title, but it could be Bun or any other application. You want to put that onto a VPS and make it available on some URL. That is the goal, and we're going to fulfill that. Let me walk you through. Since this is an attempt 2, a couple of things are already installed on the system, but we're going to attempt them again. So no worries on that part. Again, there is a documentation on node, deploy node API with the reverse proxy. Yes, we're going to make a reverse proxy as well. The whole thing is documented up here. So the step 1 is go ahead and install Node.js. So we're going to go ahead and copy this and go back up here. And we're going to go ahead and install this. This is not going to take much time. So let me go ahead and have this one here. So all right, so this shouldn't take much time. In your case, this is going to take painfully lot of time. Painstakingly lot of time, but in my case it's actually easy because hey, you guessed it, attempt 2. So I get this. All right, so both of the packages are installed. Now in case you want to install further more packages, maybe you want to get the application through the Git, there are command line utilities to get the Git installation up here, and then you can run a Git clone and all these commands. In my case, I want to go ahead and create an application which is going to be fresh from this documentation so that steps are repeatable for you as well. I'm going to go ahead and back up here, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a simple ls, and I'm going to do a pwd for getting the present working directory. I am into /home/ the user here. Now the next step says that once you are into any directory, go ahead and create a new directory. We're going to call this one as express app. Good enough. Let's go with that and move into express app. So there we go. And I do a quick ls. There is nothing inside it. Now, although you can run this command of npm init-y and can install these packages, I'll show you alternative way as well of handling this. Go ahead and copy this whole code, and we can simply go ahead and create a file package.json and install it through that as well. Again, they are exactly the same. So let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and create a new file, and that needs to be exactly called as package.json. So once you are into the file package.json, let's go ahead and open this up as nano package.json, and we're going to go ahead and paste this, the whole thing. Couple of things you need to be careful about this command or this whole package is we need to install this express and nodemon. Right now they are not installed. We have just mentioned them as the dependency. So these versions are not going to bother you much. The application is pretty much standalone and standard. Also keep an eye on this type module, which is important for especially for JavaScript developers. So the best idea is copy this into a package.json file and then go ahead and write this out and exit this. And then since you have installed npm and node and all these things, if I do ls, I see this package.json file. All I can do is npm install, and that's it. Just just mention npm I, that's it. If the file is present in the same current directory, package.json, rest of all the things will automatically get installed. So we can just skip the command. If I do a quick ls, we can see node modules are there, log file is there. You can also go and follow the step of creating npm init-y and then installing it. But there is a problem with that. You have to come up manually and set this, first of all, this type as module. That is important. And then you have to set up the script as well. Now, since we have already done this, we don't need to worry too much about that. All right. Next up is we need to create an index.js file as well. And we're going to copy this whole code and we'll be pasting that as well. So let's go ahead and do that again. We are going to say touch index.js and we are going to use nano index.js, open this up, paste whole thing, and that's it. We are all done. Everything should be up and running now. Now let's go ahead and write this, and we're going to go ahead and say yes, write this, and let's exit this as well. All right, now in theory at least, the application should be up and running, so we can test this out. There should be some commands. We'll come back onto the npm2 and everything, but first of all, what we need to do is just see the application is running. And there's a simple way. The command is actually written in your package.json. So you can simply run the command npm run dev, and that should, in theory at least, should be able to run this command. So if I go ahead and say npm run dev, this should, so my application server is running on port 80. I can actually go ahead and use a lot of things. But the whole idea is we should be able to get this. Server is up and running. I can see that. No, this is the one. So server is up and running. That's nice. Server is up and running on this one. I want to close this server. Now, as soon as you hit Control C, this is going to kill your server. That means now your application is no longer running. We need a utility which can keep our application up and running. And in the background also, we would love to find out the CPU performance and lots of other stats as well. Apart from this, if our application crashes due to some reason, I want this application to be automatically restarted. So for this, we need a package known as pm2, which does this exact job. So once you try, go ahead and install this pm2. This is not going to install like this. For this, you need to read a little bit of the more comments. So if npm is not available, use sudo npm install. So in your case, you have to use this command sudo npm install. Read the comments. Comments are good. So as you can see, this one is giving you the issues. Go ahead and use sudo npm install -pm2. This is going to go ahead and install pm2 as an application. It's already installed in my system. Shouldn't take much of the time. It's already there. Come on, you can do it faster. All right, so it's already there. Now the next step is to simply go ahead and run this npm run dev command. So I can just go ahead and copy this. Only thing you have to be careful here is when you do an ls, you should be able to see the package.json file, which is right here. Once you're here, you can just go ahead and run the command. I can just hit Command Z and I can just see copy, and there we go. So pm2 run npm, and by the way, pm2, if this is again giving you the issues, you can go ahead and run the sudo, but I don't think so this will give us issues. So if I go ahead and run this, there we go. This is running, CPU usage is almost nothing. It's running in the background. It's all good. It's all good. In any case you want to run or get more information, you can just go ahead and say pm2 list. It will give you list of all the applications that are running. You can restart it. You can use this ID to start any command like restart or anything you want to do. pm2 restart, then provide the ID. That's all. So what we have to do. Now after this, once we are done with this, we have to do some of the configuration in the Nginx file to make sure that our application is serving, because now comes up the second part of the tutorial, because this was just an application. You bring it through the Git or any way you bring it, the application is up and running now. Now the most important part, pm2 is already being taken care. We can just go ahead and simply run npm run dev. Whatever the command you want to run, it will be keep on running there. The next step is reverse proxy. Now our application is running on localhost 8080. We just mentioned this. The application will start here at port 8080. And this is also mentioned in the code part that, hey, we'll be using 8080 as your port number. So this application is running on localhost 8080. You can also do a curl on this one to see that whether things are going good or not. So I can just go ahead and use curl, and I can use -i option. That is nice to have. And I'm going to go ahead and say 127.0.0.1 :8080/API. This is where the application is actually serving. So once I go ahead and test this out, that means 200 OK is great. It's an Express application. The content is there. We're not much worried about what content is served. The -i option gives you all the header information that, hey, application is running at least good on locally. Once we're done with this, now we can go ahead and see how we can set up a reverse proxy. The reverse proxy is being set onto this file. So let's go into /etc/nginx. So let's go to cd/etc nginx default sites available. Once I do an ls, I see the default file. So I'm going to go ahead and do a sudo nano default. Open this up, and now we have to change a couple of things. First of all, you're going to notice that a couple of more stuffs are there. For example, listen 443. These are being added by the cert bot in the last video, in case you saw that. And since this is my recording 2 of the videos, these things were not there for you, but this needs to be there. So in case you are worried about, this is all the configuration that you have to mention in this file. First of all, add listen 80, and then after that, change this server name from your website name to localhost. This is being done because now we are actually incorporating a reverse proxy. So don't worry, previously it was saying, in the previous configuration, we saw that we used to just go ahead and call it like this. Yeah, the server name was the website. So this is at the time of installing the SSL certificate. Now it's not required. Now we are configuring the reverse proxy. So in case of reverse proxy, we're going to go ahead and name this as server name localhost. This is important. Make sure the listen is 80, and this, just copy paste this one. That's it. That's all you need. Now what it does, it actually puts up a proxy pass. So whenever your application, it is expecting that the traffic will come on Nginx on port 443. It is mentioned at the bottom of this configuration file. I'll show you that in a minute. But once the traffic comes into the application on port 443, it needs to be redirected on some other port. That's the whole goal of having the proxy. So this proxy pass redirects the traffic on this port. In case you are running your application with Bun, maybe Java, maybe Python, Django, whatever you are building, just make sure however you run that on your local host, it's running with some processes like PM2 or anything else, and just keep it up and running. And then in the proxy pass, mention this URL up here. The rest of these configuration will remain exactly same. These whole configurations are responsible for transferring the whole user information about the who is requesting it, the IP address, the headers, all these information directly to my application, so that my application take further advantage of it. For example, X forwarded, the real IP, the host address, host information, all these things information need to be passed on. Once you go ahead and do this, then you have to, all you have to do is sudo nginx-t, which will give you the option of, hey, everything is up and running. In my case, I'm just re-recording the video, so all these information are here. But go ahead and copy paste this, nothing big deal. Now in case you are wondering, if you go a little bit bottom here, again there is a server directive or server segment here, which actually mentions all this daily streak app and all these things. So yes, your application will still be running on port 443 or SSL, HTTPS, nothing to be worried. I'm going to go ahead and write this out. So Control O, yes, write this out, and Control X to exit this. Then simply go ahead and just grab this one. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it. If there are any errors or issue, it will mention it. Otherwise, syntax okay, everything is okay, that's good. Let's go ahead and restart this, since we have recently just configured the application, made it up and running. It should be all good. Now once this is all good, now what you have to do is go onto your application, so wherever that daily streak application is, and then mention the /API. Remember one more thing, the application that we have deployed, the code is written in such a way that there is nobody and nothing is being served on the slash. Everything is being served on /API. So this is where you have to move on. Otherwise, you'll be keep on wondering how things are there and it's not working. So we can see that it says server is working, and this whole application, this whole data is coming up from our application itself. Now we can go ahead and try to modify this. So I'm going to go ahead and do cd, and we can go into the Express app. Let's go into Express app and do a quick ls. We can go ahead and touch the index.js as well. Let's go ahead and say I want to use nano, and I will open the index.js. I'll go up here and I'll change this message to something else. Maybe this is how your application is working. Server working at checkout. There we go. We're going to go ahead and write this out, and we're going to go ahead and close this out. Now probably we need to restart the PM2 process. I don't think so it's going to be required because it's already being run by node mon, but again, it might be the cause. It might be the case. If I go ahead and reload this one, we didn't need to restart, but in some cases you might need to restart. But you can see the application is serving the code directly from your application itself. And that's all it takes. Told you, it's not really a big deal. The whole documentation is with you, how the application is being built. The whole reverse proxy and everything is there. Whatever the previous configurations are there for the cert or the certification for HTTPS, just make sure they are there. I'll once again walk you through how the configuration file looks like in my system. So I'm going to go ahead cd and we're going to go cd/etc. Love the suggestions. And we can just go ahead and say nano. I should use sudo nano, and we are going to open the default. And this is how it looks like. Notice here server 80 as mentioned. Server name localhost. Remember this, exactly same, no changes there. Then this doesn't really bother much, it's not going to bother you anyhow because this is going to serve just the basics. So if I go ahead and have this, because those files are not being served, these are being overwritten here. So having these things is not going to bother you much, or is not going to take an impact, because now we have configured this proxy pass, which is a reverse proxy configuration. So technically this should be commented out. These are not required. The most important part is this location, the whole directives and the segment, the proxy pass wherever your application is running, and make sure it is already up and running. The rest of the configuration I haven't touched. These are added by the cert bot. So listen on port 443 with the SSL, the certificates are there, included the Let's Encrypt certificate. All these things are configured properly. Not only that, this whole block was also added by the cert bot. I'm not going to touch it. So if the host is daily streak, it just returns the 301 URL managed by the cert bot. Everything is mentioned here. I'm not going to touch that. So that's your basics of it. I'm going to go ahead and exit this. But yeah, I hope these documentation are going to help you a lot in understanding the things, and you can just go ahead and reload the Nginx. So that is it. Pretty nice and easy. And I'm pretty sure now you are confident in running your own VPS, putting up on your own SSL and a node-based application. Pretty good stuff. Go ahead and let me know in the comment section first that are you enjoying these tutorials? Are they really helpful? The docs are helpful? Or at least just a comment, hey, this is a fun tutorial. That's it for this video, and let's go ahead and catch up in the next one. Hey there everyone, Hitesh here, back again with another video, and welcome to the Deploy series. In this video, I'll walk you through that how you can install your own servers and can make it almost like Netlify or Vercel. And it's not really like Netlify or Vercel, it's even better than that. Yes, that's a bold statement, but it justifies that. In this video, I'll walk you through how you can use an open source project named Coolify and can install that on your own VPS, and just forget about everything else. It does manage everything for you. Just like if you have deployed any application in the past like Netlify or Vercel, and they do all the magic for you. Just point out your Git repository, Git domain from there, just pull the application from there, and it does all the magic for you. Exactly like that, we can set up whole things on our own. So let me just show you. And by the way, we have a comment target as well. Not much, just 100 comments in this video, and I'll show you the whole magic of the Coolify. It's super easy to work on with this, but I need motivation, and that comes from the comment section. So just put that in the comment, not asking you much. There's not much of the fees, so go ahead and try that. So let me just share this one here. And I have spinned up a new machine for us, which is this one, Ubuntu AP West. So feel free to have this. And once you click on this time we're not going to be setting up any SSH or something. Rather, all of the application in DigitalOcean Linode provides you to launch this Lish console, which you click on this. There is some way or the another to open up this console. So it says, hey, you would like to log in? Yes, I would like to log in. And I can just log in as a root. And the password is going to be my password. And there we go. And that's it. You are now logged in with the root. So that's the step one. Now, after that, you have to go on to this Coolify documentation. Everything comes from the documentation. So where we go. This is how the web page looks like. And you can see there are so many sponsors of this. You can see so many applications and so many features on this. It supports any language you want to work with: database, MySQL, Mongo, Java-based application, JavaScript. It works on any server, EC2, DigitalOcean, Linode, Hetzner, wherever you want to go. Any case you want to deploy Kubernetes is on the way, but Docker Swarm, multiple servers, however you want to go. It's ridiculously powerful. The APIs, webhooks, DB backups, it's crazy powerful. And you can go with their cloud version. Of course, the pricing comes with the cloud version, which is, I guess, pretty decent. $5 base price and $3 per additional server, billed monthly. But in case you are here watching the deploy series, then pretty sure you want to just do all the things self-hosted. And there's just one command to do so. I'll go and I'll ask you to go into the documentation because there are more steps involved in this one. Just click on the self-hosted one and the same command is here. But the more important thing is we are spinning up a very basic server, but this time we need 2 CPU, 2 GB RAMs. I'm not spinning that. I'm still spinning that same $5. It works decently there. I can show you the demo. But for real world application, at least 2 GB of RAM, that's the most important part of it. So go ahead and grab that. And then you can install anything and host anything, Supabase, AppWrite, PostHog, whatever you want. You can just go ahead and install that. So let me just go ahead and walk you through. And the best part is you don't need to do any kind of a hardening server and everything. They take care of most of the stuff. In fact, they require you to log in from the root to actually install this. Without the root, it doesn't work. You can try that with the user. I tried it, it doesn't work, so have to go with this. They somehow mentioned that non-logged in permissions and all these are coming up. I don't know where I read that, but I read it somewhere. Anyways, now I can just go ahead and come up here, paste this command and just get it up and running. Now this is going to take some time because it actually downloads a whole bunch of things from here and there. A lot of stuff comes in and you can see the permissions, OpenSSH and permission root login enabled. No snaps are installed, try snaps. So it does take care of everything. It knows everything that the OpenSSH server is there. Permit root login is enabled so that once everything is installed, it makes sure that however I want this server to be running with all the security and measures, it does that. So that's really nice. Although the knowledge that we have gathered is really important, but hey, this needs to do its job. This is going to take some time. So I'll probably pause the video here. There is nothing of much value that I'm adding here just by showing you all these download steps. If it does it faster, that would be nice. I don't think so. It will do it faster. Anyways, let's pause the video here. All right, so finally, didn't took much of the time, just a couple of sips of water and it does the magic. So now you can see it has installed so many of the things, real-time database to whatnot and everything. Now it's asking us to go on to this URL, which is pretty simple, the URL, and it runs on port 8000. Now a couple of interesting steps comes after that. So we can just go ahead and hit enter. Now it will ask us to register. This is the important one. So let's just go ahead and name it. So I'm going to name Hitesh and email is going to be hitesh@chicode.com. Password, I'll use my default password up here, which I've been using for this series for a while. All right, and I'm going to click on register. And there we go. It says get started. Yes, I want to get started. Now, although it's going to ask you a whole lot of steps, I highly recommend you try it with your own, but I'm going to do is skip the onboarding. I don't want onboarding. I've done it so many times. You can go ahead and try this. You have been for a while in this series. Now I'll just simply say skip onboarding. And I want to show you the superpower of this, the whole application. So notice here right now it says dashboard and there is no project, nothing is running. This is how it looks like the first. But on the left side, you can see there are tabs for projects. So you can go ahead and add projects. I'll walk you through with one of them. You can even add multiple servers. So this whole server can actually run multiple of other servers. So if you haven't spinned up more machines, you can just go ahead and connect them here. And this is going to be your one control panel to manage everything. Sources, you can go ahead and add sources, your GitHub repository, anything that you want, you can just go ahead and add this as a resource. Destinations are there where you want to send it. You can even connect the S3 storage. So all the Amazon S3 buckets and all these things, yes, they can seamlessly get connected. We also have options of keys and tokens. If you want some of the common keys to be shared along multiple applications, you can go ahead and do that. There is even a command center, so you can run the commands to execute on the server with the local host, however you want to go with that. Profile, teams, onboarding, a whole lot of steps are there. Most of the time you'll be in the project section. Once you click on the add, you can name the project. I'm going to call this one as React app. And I'm going to say this is a nice React app. That's all I have. But it's not just about React. You can install the backend application, databases, a whole lot of stuff is there. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue on this one. This is your first app. Now, once you click on the settings of this app, you can see you can add resources. And once you click on this add resources, this is where the craziness starts. So you can go up at the top, you can just mention any public URL, and then it will ask you what branch I should deploy. It will even deploy that, even put up an SSL certificate on that. And you can use private repositories, you can use Docker files, Docker Compose, Docker images. You can even spin up your own databases here, but it's not really wise to have the database on just a 1 GB of RAM. At least 2 GB or 4 GB is recommended, but hey, just one click and Postgres will be there, Dragonfly would be there, MongoDB on your own machine will be there. This goes a little crazy. So you can spin up the entire app, right? Probably I'll make a video on that dedicated one and just have it all up and running. Even AppSmith is there. I know the founders of AppSmith and AppWrite, that's why I'm mentioning them. But again, you can just go ahead and use Chatwoot. I don't know what that is. So code server, pretty interesting stuff. This is really nice. So you can have a whole lot of things, and the scroll bar, it's a lot of them. You can go ahead and try this out. Let me just quickly find if I can find any React application on my repository, if I can. All right, but I'm not sure that this application will work because most of my applications are packed inside one gigantic repository. Lots of further small apps are there because of the courses, but I think this one will work fine. So I can just go ahead and copy this GitHub repository if it works. And same way you can just install Express app, Django app, whatever you want. You can just go ahead and install just like that. So this is the project. I never mentioned you can create more environment, by the way, production and like testing environment, a whole lot of that. I can just click on the public repository, and the public repository, I can mention the URL, and I'll say check repository. And this one says main, Ngnix pack is good, and 3000 port is good. And you can choose other packs as well, static, Ngnix file, whatever. For majority of the node-based application, Ngnix pack is good enough. And port 3000, yep, seems good. I'll click on the continue, and there you can see a lot of gazillion option opens up. This will be my application name, pretty good. Ngnix pack, and the domain is going to be this long domain, which is good enough, but you can actually go ahead and just put up a comma and add more domains if you want to. Allows redirection, good enough, not gonna be bothered much about it. Network, good enough. So all the things are being taken care of me. Apart from this, there are advanced options for auto deploy, preview deployment, force HTTPS. There are even environment variables that you can go ahead and add more, like for example, the port is one environment variable for me. The storage, source, you can just see all these options are there. It would be impossible for me to just go ahead and have this. Right now, I'll just click on general and I'll see just if we can just click on the deploy. Now it says no logs yet, and eventually it starts to deploy that and says, oops, something wrong. Slash artifact upstream. I'm not sure whether it was okay as an application because I know this was just a test application, and the commit ahead. I'm not sure whether the application is good. I have so much of the stuff going on my, but you get the idea how this needs to be deployed and configuration, and just wanted to show you all these options. And if you have any React application, just go ahead and try this out. Just wanted to show you how the Coolify works. And this is your own application server up here now. So this is React app. I can just click on settings and just remove it if I wish to. But you get the whole point of why this application and why this video even exists. You can have as much as you like. And the best part, what I like about is in the projects, I can just go ahead and have an add project, just call it as test. Let's try to spin up a MySQL here. So let's just go ahead and at least show you something here. MySQL, it would be fun to have, and I'll click on continue. And let's see if this small teeny tiny server allows us to have a resource of MySQL or Postgres, even better. Let's go ahead and see Postgres. And I have all these options, Postgres username, and I can even see the password. If I want to connect that, I can keep it in the same network. Let's start that. Not a good idea to start this onto a very small server, but I think it can do a decent job in at least having this. And there we go. If my GitHub would have a nice application on the React, probably I can just quickly create it, push it, but you can do that as well. And it says database started. There we go. Told you it's super, super easy. And now within just few clicks, now we have a resource which is running, and we have a MySQL, not MySQL, we have a Postgres SQL. The image is there, the name is there, the username is there, password is there, initialized database is there. What more do you want from an application? Oh man, this is This is really, really nice. And we have storage, everything. So I told you it's super easy, although it's not MySQL, it's a Postgres, but hey, nothing to be worried on. So I told you it's really nice, and whenever you want, you can just go ahead and see all of your projects. So we have now MySQL, which ultimately runs a Postgres. We have a React app. We can even connect them each other. So that's really nice. I'll go ahead and click on this one here, and this one is production. I'll just go inside this danger zone. We'll delete it. Don't want to consume much of the resources. That's good enough. And that's how you delete the environment. Continue. Please delete that. Project, we can go same way in the React, although it didn't work. Should have chosen the better application, but you get the idea of how it's being done. Danger zone, delete it, continue please. Delete the environment, of course, please. And now I can go into the project, go back up here and delete the project. Go ahead and delete this. This one also needs to be deleted. And there we go. So this is the way how you can have this, and Coolify is a really, really nice project to work on with. You can have your own servers, deploy as many applications on Next.js, React, Vite, Vue, whatever you wish, you can just go ahead and deploy that. Not only limited to the JavaScript ecosystem, you can even throw up the application which uses Java resources or Python resources and can do a whole bunch of things. I know the video is really short, but there is nothing much more to talk about it. I just don't want to drag the videos. I want to just keep it short, precise, informative, and want to give you something to try on. So go ahead, try out the Coolify. It's really a nice resource on the deployment segment. And if there is any more that you want me to cover in this playlist, just let me know. I'll add those videos in the playlist. That's it for this video. Let's catch up in the next one.